Hello, I'm Jishkana Sir, and welcome to the Arsenal Fan Experience. Join me today as I go in depth into the match that was a little too close for comfort. That was. And as I begin today, I shall begin by reflecting on Arsenal's previous match against Watford, and while briefly summarizing it, in that it was a game that, as I just mentioned, was a very close for comfort, and one of which Arsenal was never really able to get their groove in throughout the most of the match, and it wasn't until the 56th minute when Emil Smith Rowe broke the deadlock that Arsenal was able to seize the day and take away much needed 3 points, which as they came down to Vicarage Road for this matchup today. As we look at the starting 11 right now briefly, a notable omission once again being Emil Smith Rowe, of whom was out of the previous game against Wolves due to an illness, which is now known to be COVID-19, and as he tested positive, and therefore he was ineligible to play today, along with a absence of Takahiro Tomiyasu, with Watford Watford coming in on a fairly on a success of their own right, drawing Manchester United, and with having three managers so far this season, with Zizko and then Claudio Ranieri, who's at the helm for when they last played, and now Roy Hodgson. It seems like they finally found their identity under Hodgson, as despite their monumental loss to Crystal Palace, they did bounce back with the draw against Manchester United. And as we get into it today, they immediately got going, as just within a minute of the match beginning, I mean, it looked like Emmanuel Dennis scored a goal for Watford off of a great pass by Joao Pedro. But fortunately, it was taken back due to an offside, and play continued. The Gunners would respond 4 minutes later in the 5th minute through a great passing trio with great passing from the trio of Cedric, Bukayo Saka, and Martin Odegaard. And it was lovely to see those three work together and put in a great masterclass of passing that would ultimately culminate with Odegaard to having run into the box and slotting home with his left foot to give Arsenal a 1-0 lead. For Watford wasn't done with their resilience, as a couple minutes later they would get a great chance of Cucho Hernandez free kick that I thought was a fairly threatening shot, but it was put away by Ramsdale. But Hernandez wasn't done, as literally a minute later, off a great pass from Musa Sissoko to the right back Kiko Femenia, he put it across to the box that Cucho Hernandez absolutely nailed with a bicycle kick for the ages, and it was a spectacle to watch. And when you get a chance to see a bicycle kick live, it's unlike any other shot in the game, in the sport, and it's something you just have to take in. And he absolutely deserved that goal, and Watford equalized with 1. And throughout next 20 minutes or so, both teams would share chances, as a great cross from Cedric was put into the box that Tom cleverly got to first, but Granit Xhaka was able to push him off the ball and pass it back to Thomas Partey, who has a tendency of shooting from long range, but unfortunately in this case he was unsuccessful. While Dennis once again had a great chance off the 6-yard box, but once again Aaron Ramsdale came to the rescue to put that away. And that would turn out to be vital, as 5 minutes later, through a great run by Saka, he put it in he had a nice little tic-tac-toe with pass to play with Alexander Lacazette, and Lacazette with the cheekiest of passes, a little back heel pass to Saka in the box that threw the Watford defenders off, and Saka was able to take advantage, and he would ultimately put it past Ben Foster, not the actor who was in 310 to Yuma, but who is a surprisingly had a very has had a longevity, who has had incredible longevity in the Premier League. And as a result, Saka was able to put it past him and give Arsenal 2-1 lead. And despite another great chance from Lacazette with his header just glancing wide, they would go into the break with a 2-1 lead, and all the confidence in the world after their spectacular passing. And it was, and they were only on the brink of excellence going into the second half. With the second half beginning now, boy was I right, as through a great team play in the 56th minute, beginning with Mikel Arteta, of all people, who is back to his glory days of being a creative midfielder, and him actually contributing and making a difference in the play, with him putting the ball out to Saka for a throw-in. Ultimately, it would make its way through about 4 different players, with it beginning at Cedric, then Rudiger would receive his pass. Rudiger would then pass Lacazette, and then Lacazette had it on a platter for Gabriel Martinelli, who, with all the time in the world, slotted it home, top left corner with a half volley, and it doesn't get any better than that in that instance. And Martinelli has been kind of quiet recently. He's been kind of struggling with discipline, obviously, and confidence, and he definitely came back to his true form today. And while there may have been some controversy with Mikel Arteta maybe being outside his technical box, I don't think it had a major impact on the play, as at the end of the day, it's the Watford defenders who are there to defend against a dangerous attack that the Arsenal put forward in that particular play. And in that instance, they did not accomplish that. But despite the fact that Arsenal had a commanding 3-1 lead, it didn't look very safe, as Tom Cleverley would get a great chance that Aaron Ramsdale had to smother and make sure that the Watford couldn't get their feet on it. And Cedric would ultimately be a casualty for some of his incompetence. Although I've been very satisfied with him in Tomiyasu's place, as he got a yellow card for clipping Joao Pedro from behind. Ultimately, there would be there would be a couple minor substitutions of players who have deservedly earned their right to play, with Nicola Pepe and Eddie Nketiah, 2 players who were critical in Arsenal's last match against Wolves. And Eddie and Nketiah in particular had a great chance just after he came on, as he hit a great ball, great kind of tricky and deceiving ball that was it got past Foster, but it just went off the post. And so as we continue, lastly, Watford put in a great chance in the 7th minute off a great cross from Cucho Hernandez, and ultimately landed at the feet of Moussa Sissoko, the former Spur, who had enough control of it to put it into the net, make it 3-2. And at that point, it had been going. It looked like it was going down to the wire, and as I said, it was a little too close for comfort in some ways. And as a result, Martin Rudiger, who played a spectacular game, and I'll get to him in a little bit, was substituted off for a defensive stalwart in Rob Holding. And as the final minutes ticked down, both teams seemed to get a little bit testy, as Eddie Nketiah would end up receive a yellow card for attempting to prevent Sissoko from breaking away. While in the time that Watford had possession and was really pressuring, Kalu, who was just subbed on for Watford, put in a great shot on Ramsdale. Unfortunately, it wasn't deceiving at all. So Ramsdale was able to put it away easily. But Watford seemed really riled up and eager to get a point as they're currently in a relegation battle. They're currently in a relegation battle, and it's not looking very promising with the games with them only having about 12 or 13 games left in the season. And therefore, I understand the frustration as Cucho Hernandez was frustrated for as it looked like Arsenal was wasting time, and as a result, he threw the ball fairly heavily towards Kieran Tierney, and Tierney, obviously so, went down holding his chest as he was in pain, and the players and fans did not take a liking to that, and deservedly so. Although deservedly so, Hernandez was rewarded with a yellow card for that rash decision. So overall, Arsenal comes out of Vicarage Road against Watford 3-2 win, and has solidified their status as a top four team, with Manchester United obviously having lost to Manchester City. And my final thoughts are, it was a thrilling game and with a plethora of great goals that from both teams, and it's good to see that happen because rarely you don't see a match like this where it's so high scoring. And there was a lot of quality on display for both squads today. Overall, the man of the match for me today goes to Martin Odegaard, and I feel like this is a payback for me not rewarding him as man of the match for the last game. But no, today he was exceptional once again, and his role in the first goal, he picked up he didn't pick up a primary assist on the third goal, but he was influential in that as well. And just his ability to track back on defense, and the fact that he probably ran over 10 kilometers against today really puts into perspective how critical he is to the success of this team, and even especially going forward, as he's only 23. And it's interesting, seeing in hindsight how about 5 or 6 years ago, when he was touted as a wunderkind, it was really him, or it was between him and Hashim Mastur, and that's a name that most people may not even remember or have heard of, as Mastur kind of fizzled out after leaving AC Milan. But Odegaard has really risen to the occasion and is a top class person and a player, and will be for years to come. So anyway, leave a like, subscribe if you enjoy my reaction, and join me next time in the Arsenal fan experience as Arsenal takes on Leicester City. Arrivederci.